Hello and welcome to New Mexico Rising. My name is Abby Max. On this week's show, we have this.
Ooh, well, you know, I think for me, it might end up ranking as #1 because after 11 years of hard work and dedication, I finally certified myself a spot in the WrestleMania event. Which day, I don't know, but it doesn't matter because I'm gonna walk out a champion.
In some ways, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. I mean, I think, you know, publicly, the public was angry that because they were heartbroken. So how dare you guys break up? Why can't you just be the Beatles? You know, what are you doing? And Paul's wife, Linda, takes a lot of flack for, you know, did she help break up the band?
So I think of this like maintaining your car, right? Like I'm an old click and clack guy, right? I've learned the hard way, don't wait till your engine combusts to check your oil, right? Do it when the light turns on. Think of preventive health as exactly that system of lights.
I was sitting in a lecture and all of a sudden my heart rate shot up to 180. I was short of breath, having chest pain, and thought I was going to pass out in class.
All that and more right here on New Mexico Rising.
So what happens after you leave the biggest band in music history? For Paul McCartney, the end of the Beatles wasn't the end of the story. It was the start of a whole new chapter. Man on the Run from Oscar-winning director Morgan Neville takes us inside Paul's post-Beatles years, the launch of Wings, and a deeply personal decade that shaped his solo legacy. Morgan joins us today to talk about the film Paul McCartney, Man on the Run, which is now available on Prime Video. Welcome to the show, Morgan. How are you?
I'm very good. Good talking to you.
All right. The Beatles breakup is one of the most talked about moments in music history. What did you discover about Paul during that immediate aftermath that might surprise some of the fans out there?
I mean, so much. I mean, if you watch Get Back, Peter Jackson's kind of 8-hour version of the Beatles at the end, making Let It Be, you see Paul is driving everything. Songs are pouring out of him. And the question is, what happens the day that disappears? And what happens is that Paul has a true heartbreak. I mean, he's the one that wanted the Beatles more than anybody. And, you know, he essentially is told by John Lennon that John wants a divorce from the band. And Paul, within 2 weeks, runs off to Scotland with his new wife, Linda, and their new baby, Mary, and tries to figure out what he's going to do. Is he even going to make music anymore? And so these next few years, he really struggles. And that's the part of the story I don't think people really understand, you know, and that whole life of him trying to figure out who he was if he wasn't a Beatle.
So what was that period for him, like creatively and personally, and him trying to find himself?
It was in some ways, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. I mean, I think, you know, publicly, the public was angry that because they were heartbroken. So how dare you guys break up? Why can't you just be the Beatles? You know, what are you doing? And Paul's wife, Linda, takes a lot of flack for, you know, did she help break up the band? Same thing happened with John and Yoko. You know, there's just a lot of kind of anger, and the critics are saying, you know, your music isn't as good as what the Beatles were. You know, it was kind of an impossible shadow to escape, but that's Paul's mission. He has no choice but to try and escape it. So he tries and tries different things for years to kind of see who am I and what is my voice now as just Paul McCartney. And part of that then comes into fruition when he starts the band Wings. So it's the model he knows. I'm going to be in a band with some other people, and there's a camaraderie to it that makes me feel like I'm not alone. And through that, he finally starts doing albums like Band on the Run and becomes kind of more the Paul of who we know today.
And we also get to see some rare archival footage and a little bit of intimate family photography from Linda McCartney. How did those elements help you tell a more vulnerable side of Paul's story?
I mean, there's incredible footage we found. I mean, there's footage of Paul filming himself alone, writing songs at a piano, or with the kids, you know, and the singing songs at Christmas time. You know, there is a real intimacy to the footage. And that's really the main thing I wanted to convey, that this is a story kind of from the inside out. It's a story where we really kind of understand what Paul was dealing with and how he was dealing with it. You see an insecurity in Paul that I don't think you really see publicly.
So what do you think the story tells about resilience and reinvention?
I mean, I think it's a story, and Paul's story is how not to doubt your own creative instincts. I think, the world always wants you to doubt what you do and judge what you do. And I think Paul's strength at this time is I'm going to do whatever the hell I feel like. And that's fine. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, fine. And he does some crazy things that work and things that don't work. He releases, Mary Had a Little Lamb as a 45, which, nobody particularly likes. But then he puts out Mull of Kintyre, which becomes the biggest selling single in England in history. So they're both kind of crazy ideas. But I think he was all about embracing the crazy idea at the time. So creatively, I think it's pretty inspirational.
And for some of the lifelong Beatle fans out there, or even some of the brand new...
A lot of seniors stay on top of managing their health problems, but preventative care, that's often the part that gets pushed aside. New data shows only a small percentage of seniors are actually seeing their doctor just for preventative visits, and that can make a big difference long term. Joining us today are Dr. Ali Khan, a practicing internist and Chief Medical Officer for Medicare at Aetna. Dr. Khan, good morning.
Good morning.
We manage chronic issues pretty well in this country, but preventative care seems to fall behind. How common is it for seniors to delay those routine visits?
Yeah, Abby, you hit the nail on the head. We are excellent in this country at sick care, but when we think about well care, right, and we think about preventive care, delaying those kinds of appointments is far more common than you think. Happens to be my mother's 73rd birthday today. She and I were just having this conversation last night. Conversations said nicely. Guys, she's like, hey, I feel healthy. Why do I need to go in for this visit, right? Like I'll go when I'm sick. And I think that's often a motive for some people in terms of thinking about this. Some people are worried about costs or worried about transportation to and from appointments. Other people they just don't know how important these visits are. And I think that's the key here, right? If our viewers come away with one thing, understanding that preventive health is the foundation of staying healthy as we age. And though the time that we put into things like the annual wellness visit in Medicare or the annual physical are really ways to catch problems early and health issues before they turn into more serious issues that can be complicated and expensive to treat down the road, right? That's why from a Medicare Advantage perspective, like at Aetna, we cover those kinds of preventive visits at no additional cost. And why we're here today to really encourage everyone at the start of the year, it's already February, time is flying by, to get these appointments scheduled, because that's what drives the shift from reactive sick care to the proactive wellness care that we all really deserve.
From your perspective as a physician, why does being proactive matter so much as we head into the new year?
Very simply, Abby, being proactive is all about catching those health issues early when they're easier to manage. And that is why that annual wellness visit is a great time to set up that prevention playbook for the year, right? Mapping month by month what we're going to do to help keep you well and catch things in real time. That pairs really well with the annual physical, where the annual physical is that full assessment, the full exam, lab work, blood work, tests, vaccines, everything rolled together to help identify potential health issues before they blossom into something really worrisome, like a high blood pressure, like a diabetes, like a lung disease or heart disease. So I think of this like maintaining your car, right? Like I'm an old click and clack guy, right? I've learned the hard way. Don't wait till your engine combusts to check your oil, right? Do it when the light turns on. Think of preventive health as exactly that system of lights, right? We want to make sure everything's running smoothly. And so investing in this kind of proactive care up front and using that to guide the whole year or years to come, that leads to better health outcomes for people. And we've seen it over and over again at Aetna in our data and other academic publications, that keeps people out of hospitals, out of emergency rooms, and happy and at home. So I can't think of any greater goal than that.
You've put together a simple checklist for 2026. What are the 3 health items every senior should make a priority right now?
Number 1, first and foremost, Abby, schedule those preventive care appointments and get them done, particularly that annual wellness visit, that annual physical, and your annual hearing and vision tests. After the age of 60, the best thing that we can do to prevent dementia and memory issues is getting our hearing and our vision checked every single year so we catch problems before they start. Number 2, get to know your plan. Get your new ID card, understand what benefits are there, understand what's covered and what's not covered, but also what extra benefits that you're entitled to, so that when you know that, hey, I have access to a 24/7 nurse line when I'm worried about something, or hey, when I come out of the hospital, there's a care management program that my health plan offers that wraps around me for 30, 60, or 90 days to help me get all the things I need and stay safe at home. That way you'll know when Aetna or another health plan is calling you after you come out of a hospitalization that we're probably calling to help and not calling about a bill, right? So that's number two. Number three, use the digital front door as much as you can. All of us live on smartphones now. Download that app for your plan, sign up for that patient portal, get to use it. And if you need help with it, ask for help from us on the plan or from your doctor's office and in terms of how to make it powerful. But you got all your prescription information there, your doctors, nurses information there, your appointments, things that you need to do come up. It's an incredible tool for advocacy and navigating the healthcare system. So that's my big three in terms of setting you up for success and being an educated, informed partner in your own health.
For someone new to Medicare, it can feel overwhelming. What advice would you give to them as they try to make sense of all their coverage?
You know, a lot of it less than the checklist, but Abby, first and foremost, I tell them breathe. It's very easy to feel overwhelmed here and you're not alone. So how do you ask for help? We talked about those digital platforms, and of course, those are a great place to start. But even more simply, on the back of every ID card in Medicare Advantage is a number next to the word member services. That's a phone line that's literally there to help you go through whatever questions you have, right? In American medicine, all too often, we worry alone about problems. And the point of all of this is to make sure that we're building the ecosystem so that we're catching things early and we're worrying together. And that is what I think understanding your plan, getting those preventive care appointments, and taking advantage of that digital front door enable is having the partnership to know that you're not walking alone in any of this.
And if viewers want to review their options or learn more about what's available to them, where should they go?
Lots of options out there, Abby, but I'm a stalwart for AetnaMedicare.com. Great unbiased place for information about what's available to you, what things to consider as you're making choices, and how to really optimize your health.
Dr. Khan, thank you for joining us today.
I appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time.
Your heart suddenly starts racing and you don't know when it will stop. That's what people with PSVT experience. It affects more than 2 million Americans and often leads to emergency room visits. Now, there's a newly approved treatment people can administer themselves. We are joined by Dr. Narendra Singh, a cardiologist, and Jessica Baumgartner, who is living with PSVT. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Singh, what is PSVT and what symptoms do people usually feel and how do doctors diagnose it?
So PSVT stands for paroxysmal supraventricular tachycardia. It's a very common rhythm disturbance. 2 million Americans have it. Your heart starts racing very fast, anywhere from 150 to 200 beats per minute. You're going to feel it in terms of tightness in your chest, shortness of breath, lightheadedness, sometimes feeling sweaty, and the most serious situation, actually having a fainting episode. Despite all those symptoms, we've got to get you to the emergency department, get an EKG done to make the diagnosis. And once we have that diagnosis, we have to start an IV and then administer intravenous medications to make it go away. And that's why we're excited about Cardamist as a new therapeutic option for these patients.
Dr. Singh, can you tell us about the new treatment that is now available and how it could change the care for patients?
Yeah, so Cardamist is the first FDA-approved self-administered nasal spray. And what it does is allows patients, when they go into this, rather than having to go to the emergency department, can just sit down, take one spray in each nostril, and within the next 5 to 30 minutes, get back into the regular rhythm. So it really is a game changer for our patients.
Jessica, can you tell us about how you were diagnosed with PSVT?
Sure. So I was actually diagnosed almost 20 years ago, and coincidentally in nursing school. I was sitting in a lecture and all of a sudden my heart rate shot up to 180. I was short of breath, having chest pain, and thought I was going to pass out in class. I was able to get to the emergency room pretty quickly with that first episode, and they were able to capture the arrhythmia on an EKG, which made treatment and me getting into a cardiologist much easier and quicker. For the last 20 years, I've used pill in the pocket, which is just a medication that I carry and that I take orally when I have episodes. And it does take a while before I see results from having taken the medicine because it does take a while to get into your system. So I'm very excited about the possibility of having a medication that I can use myself and that works much quicker.
Jessica, how does PSVT affect your daily life?
So it really makes you think about where the closest emergency room is, what you would do if you have an episode, and it really makes you think twice about being in a remote place or where you wouldn't have help. So for Cardamist, to be able to be portable, self-administered, easy to use, it really gives you some of that freedom to travel and do the things that you love again, and to feel confident about that.
Jessica, how do you feel about having a treatment that people can administer themselves?
I'm very excited. I'm very happy to get on an airplane and not feel like I'm on an island, and know that I have something with me that I could use in situations, when I don't have medical care, and that I would feel safe doing that.
Dr. Singh, can you explain the safety and effectiveness data for this treatment?
Yes, so this is an FDA-approved drug, good clinical trials to support its use. And what we see is that from the time that you take that spray, some patients are getting relief as early as 5 minutes. Certainly by 30 minutes, more than 2/3 of the patients are back in regular rhythm. From a safety perspective, we just ask that you sit down when you take the medication in case it affects your blood pressure and heart rate. But the main thing that you may feel is some nasal irritation, some throat irritation, but it's very transient in nature and resolves quickly. And so this is just so beneficial for our patients. I liken it to, having an EpiPen if you got an allergy, or a rescue inhaler if you got asthma. Now we've got something to treat SVT in any setting that it occurs.
Dr. Singh, where can our viewers go to learn more information?
Well, certainly the website cardamist.com is a useful starting point, but like all therapies, consult your healthcare professional for further advice.
Jessica, Dr. Singh, thank you for coming on our show and talking about PSVT.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Depression affects about 21 million adults in the US, but major depressive disorder is more than just feeling sad or stressed. For many people, symptoms can continue even while they're in treatment. Today, we are joined by Dr. Sandra Jan, a licensed professional counselor with more than 30 years of experience, and mental health advocate Kelly Uchima, who openly shares her own journey with depression. Welcome to you both.
So glad to be with you.
Thank you for having us. We're very passionate about this stuff.
Dr. Jan, what is major depressive disorder, and how is it different from everyday stress or sadness?
Great question. Major depressive disorder is a chronic and persistent condition. Symptoms may persist for weeks, including loss of interest in regular activities, things that bring joy and enjoyment. You can have loss of interest as well as cognition, difficulty with fatigue, motivation, drive. But also important to remember, it impacts a person globally in all realms of their life. How it's different from regular day stress, I'm going to turn to Kelly as a person with lived experience. Would you speak to that?
I, for so long, thought that it was just stress, and I personally was too weak to deal with it. And when I was diagnosed at 19 with depression, I had this wave of relief that confirmed to me, oh, there is something deeper. I have this dark cloud hanging over me 24/7. And even though it was kind of sad to find out, I actually felt a lot of hope for my future because I could start looking for tools to live a higher quality of my life.
Many adults still have depression symptoms even while they're in treatment. From your perspective, why does that happen, and what gives you hope about where the care is headed?
Yeah, well, standard of care is medication and or psychotherapy. Now, in treatment, we know that some people do respond to the standard practices of medicine and psychotherapy, but there are also people who have partial remission to that treatment. And so as we're moving into what I would call this digital technology space in mental health, this is what I find so exciting, because these emerging technologies offer our patients a sense of hope because there is another tool. So if you're not responding to current treatments, we as clinicians can say, here, there is another option available.
Kelly, you've been open about your own mental health journey. What excites you most about where the direction the conversation is going, whether that's new treatment options, reducing stigma, or helping people feel less alone?
I feel so comforted in how normalized these conversations are becoming. And I think that has inspired more research towards this. And we are both here on behalf of Rejoin. And I am on an antidepressant. I do talk therapy, but I still struggle with depression. I have clinical depression, MDD. And so I did this 6-week program. It's the Rejoin. It shows up kind of like an app on your phone. You basically do mini therapy lessons and brain training exercise. And brain training exercises, and this blew my mind because I always thought that my depression was solely because of chemical imbalances. And while that is true, our brains, when we struggle with depression, have a hard time with the thinking part and the feeling part communicating. So regulating emotions and processing emotions is incredibly difficult for us. And Rejoin likes to call it physical therapy for the brain, and I love that.
Dr. Jan, from a clinical standpoint, what excites you most about the growing understanding of mental health and these newer technology-supported options?
Oh, it's a great question. And as Kelly's talking about that, I really want your viewers to be aware that Rejoin is the first ever FDA authorized prescription digital therapeutic for the treatment of the symptoms of MDD for people 22 and over, like Kelly, who are already taking an antidepressant. So it doesn't replace their treatment, it is an add-on. So in this space of digital technology, prescription digital therapeutics, these are based in evidence. So when I recommend it to a patient, I can say these have been studied in randomized clinical trials. So it brings a lot of confidence in offering it to them as another treatment option.
And for someone watching right now who may be struggling with depression, what would you want them to hear?
You are not broken. Believe it or not, your brain does have the strength and ability to change. You don't need to do it alone, and you shouldn't do it alone.
Yeah.
I didn't.
I would add to that, depression is real. So ask for help, speak out. And we really heal in the context of community and connection and conversation.
And where can people go to learn more?
They can visit the website meetrejoin.com. Rejoin is spelled REJOYN. And Kelly and I are happy to tell you guys that there is a discount code. So if you want to do a virtual consult to see if Rejoin is right for you, there is a discount code available. It's Rejoin26.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Jan and Kelly.
Thank you for having us.
Glad to be here.
WrestleMania is already one of the biggest events in sports entertainment, and this year it's turning into an entire week-long takeover in Las Vegas. From SmackDown to Raw to the massive two-night WrestleMania at Allegiant Stadium, fans are getting more action than ever. So joining us now is WWE Superstar Liv Morgan, champion, rule breaker, and one of the most dangerous competitors in the game. Welcome to the show, Liv. How are you?
Oh, thank you. I love that introduction. Thank you. I'm doing well. I woke up the greatest Royal Rumble winner of all time. So I have no complaints,
All right. Congratulations to you. You've been kicking butt, both literally and figuratively. WrestleMania 42 just got even bigger with SmackDown and Raw added to the week. What does it mean to be part of an entire WrestleMania week instead of just one night?
Yeah. So WrestleMania week is always chaotic in the best way. We have Friday Night SmackDown, as you said, Monday Night Raw. We have the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony where Stephanie McMahon's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So iconic. And then we have our 2-day spectacle of WrestleMania. It is a very busy week, but it is so worth it. There is so much connection with the WWE universe. So many opportunities to run into your favorite WWE superstar and get an autograph and get a photo. Giving back to the WWE Universe and the community of Las Vegas for so graciously hosting us in our second year of WrestleMania there. Last year we had our most successful WrestleMania of all time in Las Vegas as far as attendance and viewership. And so we are excited to run it back and do it bigger and better than ever.
You've had some massive moments in your career. Money in the Bank, championship wins, the Revenge Tour. When you look at this year's WrestleMania season, where does that rank for you personally?
Ooh, well, I think for me, it might end up ranking as number one because after 11 years of hard work and dedication, I finally certified myself a spot in the WrestleMania event. Which day, I don't know, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to walk out a champion. And so I'm super excited.
Okay, and Backlash is coming up in Tampa in May, and it's the first premium live event after WrestleMania. How does the energy shift after WrestleMania, and why should fans expect fireworks at Backlash?
Yeah, so WrestleMania to me kind of signifies the start of the wrestling new year. We work all year to lead into WrestleMania, to tell these stories and have these matches at WrestleMania. And once it's done, it kind of feels like a reset. So Backlash being the first PLE in the wrestling new year as far as I'm concerned. In Tampa, where I'm currently from, so I kind of feel like the hometown hero walking in, a brand new champion. So you can expect excitement, chaos, and I'm known to be a little bit messy, so you can expect a mess.
All right, some fans love you, some fans love to hate you. Either way, they're watching, but how do you channel that reaction when you step into the ring?
Kind of exactly what you said. You know, they either love to hate me or hate to love me, and I welcome and appreciate it all because I don't really care what you think about me, respectfully. You know, it is what it is, and I'm going to do the same thing that I do regardless. But I appreciate the noise. Everything that we do is for the audience and for their energy. So whether they're cheering or booing me, I appreciate it nonetheless.
Maybe you should challenge some of them to the ring themselves.
They can't handle me. Are you kidding me?
All right, for anyone who's never experienced a WWE live event in person, what's different about being inside that arena compared to like just watching it at home?
Yeah, so, you know, watching at home, you get all the camera angles, you get the commentary on your TV. It's a very much more intimate, controlled experience. But live, you have the energy of the hundreds of thousands of people that got a ticket with you that are cheering or booing their favorite WWE superstars. It is such a mix of athleticism, sport, entertainment, blended in a way that only WWE can provide. So you are definitely in for a treat because WWE is for everyone and we want everyone to be entertained. So you bring your mom, your uncle, your cousins, your dog. I don't think dogs are allowed in the venue, so you can't bring your dog, but your dog can sit and enjoy at home if you don't come to the show. But I recommend coming to the show.
I've also heard that you're becoming a movie star and have a project on the way.
I have something on the way. Bad Lieutenant, I filmed in Japan last year. It is going to hit theaters in September. I was very excited about the project. I learned a lot, and I feel better after the fact, having the experience. I was lucky to be in the room with all of these incredibly talented veterans of the film industry. And the WWE audience is going to see me in a way that I think perhaps they never thought they'd see me. So I would tune in.
Liv Morgan, I want to thank you for joining me today. WrestleMania 42 takes over Las Vegas April 18th and 19th at Allegiant Stadium, with SmackDown on April 17th and Raw on April 20th at the T-Mobile Arena. And WWE Backlash heads to Tampa on May 9th. You can get your tickets and full event details at WWE.com. Liv, I want to thank you for hanging out with me today.
Thank you. Have a good day. And don't forget to watch me. Future champion over here, okay?
Thank you for tuning in and checking us out here on New Mexico Rising. If you're a fan of the show and want to know what's going on behind the scenes, follow us on social media. We're at New Mexico Rising on Facebook and Instagram. Also, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at New Mexico Rising. Thank you again for joining us right here on New Mexico Rising.